I did not sign up for this. Who authorized this? If I go down, you're going with me.
Like many celebrated talents in Hollywood, Harrison Ford's story hasn't been exactly a bed of roses. His early move into the industry was met with so many challenges, which he had to overcome to attain his current position. However, lately, it seems that life isn't done beating up Ford, even as he is well into his old age. Rumors have been flying about a certain condition, which has impacted the legendary actor in so many ways. Looking back at his career, many believe that this might be a call for him to take stock of his achievements and take care of himself for his remaining years. Join us as we unravel more details. Harrison Ford's journey to becoming one of Hollywood's iconic actors indeed reads much more like a tale brewed on persistence, resilience, and getting hold of the right opportunities the moment they availed themselves. Born in Chicago, Illinois on July 13, 1942, Ford was part of a middle-class family. Ford's dad, Christopher Ford, was an advertising executive who had also been an actor. His mother, Dorothy, was a homemaker and former radio actress. Ford was of Irish, German, and Russian Jewish stock, and he would later say that his heritage helped frame his world and set him firmly in his place. Ford grew up in the Chicago suburb of Park Ridge, attending high school there, where he showed an early interest in the arts, focusing on music and radio. He also played cello in the school orchestra, but though not unusually outgoing, he had a strong affection for storytelling. After high school, Ford gained admission to Ripon College in Wisconsin, planning to major in philosophy and English. In his senior year, Ford took a drama course, in part to conquer shyness and meet girls. This would prove to be one of his life's most vital decisions because he soon discovered he enjoyed acting, and thus made the decision to take acting more seriously. After college, Ford moved to Los Angeles in 1964 with his first wife, Mary Marquardt, whom he married that same year. He had planned on finding voiceover work, but Hollywood had other ideas. Ford signed a contract with Columbia Pictures' talent program and promptly earned the princely sum of $150 a week for small, uncredited roles. His first screen credits were for film projects like Dead Heat on a Merry-Go-Round and A Time for Killing. The roles were small but were opportunities to work on set. Many of the roles handed to him were forgettable, and he was often cast as extras or minor supporting characters without lines. Disheartened yet determined, Ford pulled an unusual career move. Believing that the leading roles might take a little longer, he began working as a carpenter in order to support his family. He taught himself carpentry and started taking jobs around Los Angeles, finding a way to have a real steady paycheck with the time to audition. As a carpenter, Ford was good at his job, even doing projects for some of Hollywood's elites, which included Brazilian musician Sergio Mendes and later Francis Ford Coppola. Carpentry became a lifeline that enabled Ford to take care of his family and at the same time keep his dream of becoming an actor alive. Despite his industriousness, Ford's acting career was not promising for several years. The frustration started mounting, and his roles in films like Zabriskie Point and Getting Straight did very little to move his career ahead. He even managed to secure a minor, uncredited role in Coppola's The Conversation from 1974, yet that didn't get him to catch on. During this time of his life, Ford had a problem dealing with doubt and the cold truth that his acting career may never get off the ground. Still, he refused to let go of his dream. He also continued going to auditions in the hope that one day he'd find the right part. His persistence finally paid off in 1973 when he landed a role in George Lucas's coming-of-age film, American Graffiti. Ford played Bob Falfa, an arrogant drag racer, and although his part was small, it was his first role with notable screen time and a character with a memorable presence. American Graffiti became an instant hit, and Ford's performance caught the attention of the industry. More importantly, it introduced him to George Lucas, who would later prove to be instrumental in his career. While American Graffiti did not make Ford a star overnight, it proved an important stepping stone, the beginning of his association with Lucas. After American Graffiti, Ford went back to his carpentry work but stayed in contact with Lucas, who at this time was working on a new project that would eventually alter Ford's life. In the mid-1970s, Lucas started holding auditions for Star Wars and invited Ford to come in and read lines with other actors auditioning. He wasn't considered at the time. Lucas wanted new faces and hadn't planned on using Ford in the movie at all. However, while Ford read lines for Han Solo, Lucas noticed he brought a unique charm and charisma to the character. He eventually cast Ford as Han Solo, a move which would go on to shape the Star Wars saga and also catapult Ford into superstardom. In 1977, with the release of Star Wars, the film became an overnight sensation worldwide. Han Solo's role catapulted Ford into stardom overnight. The character resonated well with audiences, and Ford's raw, sarcastic humor, yet endearing performance, immediately elevated him from the ensemble cast. Without warning, Ford ascended to international stardom after having been relatively obscure. He finally had achieved the breakthrough he had spent more than a decade working toward. Success in Star Wars put him in high demand, going back to headlining Apocalypse Now, once again in Coppola's company, but this time as the minor Colonel Lucas. Soon after, he would be cast as Indiana Jones in Steven Spielberg's Raiders of the Lost Ark in 1981, a role which would become one of the most iconic heroes in film history. The success of both Star Wars and Raiders of the Lost Ark made Ford a Hollywood A-lister and sealed his status as one of the all-time screen legends. Ford's road to success was indeed full of all possible bumps and detours. However, the resolve and adaptability of the man helped him hang on. He often remarks on how being a carpenter for so many years kept him grounded and gave him the perspective that got him through both the highs and the lows of the film industry. In retrospect, it's clear how Ford's early hardships and tough road to success facilitated his career, but even more so instilled the gritty realism into his characters that enthralled audiences over the years. Much like his career, Harrison Ford's personal life has also not been devoid of challenges and complexities. 2 very expensive divorces, an affair, and later a happier chapter with his third wife, Callista Flockhart, were all part of his life outside the screen after his big breaks in Hollywood. Furthermore, Ford suffered a serious injury in a plane crash, the details of which spoke volumes about his resilience. In 1964, Ford married his first wife, Mary Marquardt. Being college sweethearts, the two worked through the early years of his career when acting roles were few, and Ford had to work as a carpenter just to make ends meet. They had 2 sons together, Benjamin and Willard, and once upon a time they had that picture of family life. However, with Ford's career taking off in the 1970s, particularly after Star Wars in 1977, the pressures of fame and the often very late hours on location took a lot from their marital bond. With his rising star status in Hollywood, Ford spent an increasing amount of time away from home, thus straining the relationship. In 1979, Ford and Marquardt divorced after 15 years of marriage. The split was amicable, but the dissolution came as a painful end to Ford's first big relationship. Just 2 years later, Ford married screenwriter Melissa Matheson in 1983. Matheson was an uprising talent thanks to her work in E.T. the Extraterrestrial and shared common ground with Ford for their storytelling ability and intellectual depth. They have 2 children together, Malcolm and Georgia. This marriage lasted almost 2 decades through the height of his career, including his iconic roles as Indiana Jones and Jack Ryan. Matheson, as many knew her, had been warm and warm-hearted, anchoring Ford's life. However, this marriage wasn't devoid of its share of troubles either. As Ford's fame continued to grow unabated, the stresses of his career and trying to keep a balance again took their toll on his marriage. In the late 1990s, he was reported to have had an extramarital affair. He was reportedly involved with actress Lara Flynn Boyle, but this was never confirmed by Ford himself. Notwithstanding his successes, his marriage with Matheson suffered severely during this period. By the year 2000, the couple separated, and in 2004, they divorced. This was one of the costliest divorces in Hollywood history at that time, costing Ford approximately $85 to $118 million. Despite all that, Ford and Matheson are supposed to remain on good terms, sharing their children and mutually respecting each other. Matheson's death in 2015 due to cancer proved a pivotal moment for Ford, who was put in a place where he had to come to terms with the lifelong connections that he made, despite separating from her. The years following his second divorce were spent focusing on his career, as Ford continued to undertake some of the iconic roles that would set him into legendary status in Hollywood. Then, in 2002 at the Golden Globe Awards, he met Calista Flockhart, best known for the starring role of Ally McBeal on the popular television show of the same name. The two just clicked, despite the wide 22-year gap in age. Flockhart was already a mother to her adopted son Liam, whom she adopted back in 2001, and Ford welcomed the opportunity to be a part of their life. Ford and Flockhart dated for a number of years, keeping the relationship somewhat low-key. In 2009, over Valentine's Day weekend, Ford proposed to Flockhart, and the two married in June of 2010 in a low-key ceremony in Santa Fe, New Mexico, where Ford was filming Cowboys and Aliens. This marriage brought a new sense of stability into Ford's life, and by all accounts, he and Flockhart share a loving, supportive partnership. Flockhart has spoken highly of Ford as such a wonderful parent, saying that he is very attached to her son Liam, who Ford has also adopted legally. In 2015, Ford experienced a near-death incident that tested his strength and the strength of his relationship. As a licensed pilot, Ford was flying a vintage World War II aeroplane, a Ryan PT-22 Recruit, when he suffered an engine failure shortly after taking off from Santa Monica Airport. Ford attempted an emergency landing on a nearby golf course. The plane crash-landed, leaving him with a broken pelvis, a broken ankle, and serious head injuries. First responders credited Ford's quick action and airmanship for probably preventing an even greater tragedy. Ford's recovery from the crash was long and arduous. He underwent surgery and rehabilitation to repair his injuries, with Flockhart by his side through it all. The incident underlined the risks Ford often ran in pursuit of his passions, but underlined his resilience and determination too. Within a few months, he was on his feet and raring to get back into both his flying and acting. The accident reminded us about the dangers Ford was running not only in professional stunts, but also in his personal life, where he continued to push the limits and followed his interests with passion. Flockhart proved to be highly instrumental during the recovery of Ford, both physically and mentally. It seems their marriage became even stronger as they weathered this phase together. Friends and family were in awe at how much more Ford seemed to appreciate Flockhart, as he relied on her through his rehabilitation process. These days, the couple leads a more peaceful, balanced life away from the glare of publicity. They are now settled in Jackson, Wyoming, where Ford is involved with environmental conservation. After quite a few bad relationships, Ford does seem to have finally found satisfaction with Flockhart. Their relationship is one of mutual respect and a deep friendship. The couple has survived personal setbacks, including the health issues that Ford has been going through. They have faced it all as a team. Harrison Ford's marital life speaks to the permutations of love, the personal costs of being famous, and the possibility of happiness in later years. Though the divorces were painful and costly, both opened the way for a new chapter with Flockhart. But through all the highs and lows, Ford has proved resilient on screen and off, facing life's trials with the same determination and grit that have defined his career. Besides his tough persona on screen, Harrison Ford has managed to build a reputation for being adventurous in real life. During the course of his career, he didn't shy away from challenges, which later resulted in falls, sprains, and many other kinds of injuries. In addition to all of these accidents, it was widely rumored that he had a problem with anxiety. With a reputation for doing many of his own stunts, Ford has suffered a number of injuries in his career. The first major injury occurred in 1981 while he was filming Raiders of the Lost Ark. In a scene where Indiana Jones runs away from a boulder, Ford slipped and tore the anterior cruciate ligament in his knee. This is the kind of injury that would put most people out of commission, but Ford continued filming, getting treatment, and making it back onto the set as quickly as possible. Working through the pain became one of his career trademarks, as he constantly proved himself to commit to bringing authenticity into his roles. This was not the only major injury Ford experienced on set. In 1984, while filming Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, Ford injured a disc in his back during a fight scene. He had to undergo surgery, and Steven Spielberg had to adjust filming to accommodate Ford's recovery. True to form, Ford was back on set just as soon as he could manage. His physical determination became the stuff of legend, and he continued doing much of his own stunts in the sequels Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade and Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. In 2014, while filming Star Wars: The Force Awakens, Ford was seriously injured on set when the hydraulic door of the Millennium Falcon malfunctioned and fell on him, breaking his left leg. The accident was serious enough to require surgery, and he was out of commission for several weeks. Although the injury could have stalled production, Ford again showed the sort of determination that has marked his life by working with the film's producers to get back on the set as soon as possible. Aside from film sets, Ford's enthusiasm for flying also has brought him serious injuries. Ford is a veteran pilot who has been involved in a few incidents, most notably the plane crash in 2015. While flying his vintage World War II-era plane, Ford suffered engine failure shortly after takeoff. He tried making an emergency landing on a nearby golf course, but instead crash-landed, breaking his pelvis and ankle and injuring his head. The accident had been quite critical, and he had to go into surgery and rehabilitation, taking quite a while to recover. He continued to fly despite the risk and is still a licensed pilot, though he has been through other aviation incidents since. People have also speculated about Ford's mental health. There have been rumors that he had an anxiety disorder. There were even some speculations that he suffered panic attacks on a film set. Contrary to these rumors, Ford has come out and dismissed any claims that he suffers from anxiety. He has explained in interviews that while he has been put under pressure during his high-stakes filming and celebrity life, he has never experienced debilitating symptoms associated with anxiety disorder. His responses do have a sense of setting the record straight, highlighting the difference between feeling under pressure at the time and being in clinical anxiety. All the same, health and injury challenges notwithstanding, Ford has never given up his philosophy of keeping active. Of late, though, he has been less involved with performing stunts, which he sometimes leaves to stunt doubles for more dangerous scenes. He has furthered that by keeping himself fit, still leading an active lifestyle and enjoying the outdoors, more so at his ranch in Wyoming. He is quite a hiker and enjoys nature, and this indeed has helped him stay physically fit and mentally well. Also, apart from his health problems, Ford has publicly talked about the issues of his family, such as his son Ben's struggles with Crohn's disease and his daughter Georgia's fight against epilepsy. These further illustrate the resiliency and compassion of Ford as he supports his children and brings awareness to these conditions. Despite all of the physical setbacks, along with the scrutiny of his mental health, Ford still proves to be a case of resiliency. The fact that he can keep going, flying, and embracing challenges in life says a lot about the strength he brings into both his roles and his personal life. He has founded an acting career and reputation not only as a Hollywood icon but also as a figure of steadfast determination, proving he is as tough off-screen as he is in some of his most famous roles. We hope you enjoyed the video. Do keep in touch for more exciting uploads.